Okay, I have to psych myself up every time I do one of these videos. So we're just going to jump right in. Um, since Satan is a creature, there was a time when he didn't know all that he knows now. After God gave him a playbook, aka the written Bible, it was it was a lot easier for him then. But before the Bible, he just had to have his angels around the globe watching and listening. And Satan heard God after Eve sinned, and God pronounced a judgment on Satan. He told him that you're going to bruise the heel of the seed of the woman, but the seed of the woman is going to crush your head. So that means defeat. So, what is Satan going to try to do? Well, he's going to try to not let there be a seed of the woman. So, how does he do that? Well, the simple way of saying what he did was fallen angels had sex with human women. Now, if you don't believe me, that's fine. Let's just read some verses and we'll see what happened. Now, let's start with 2 Peter chapter 2. Peter's talking about false teachers, and he mentions these angels. For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell, and committed them to pits of darkness, held for judgment, and he did not spare the ancient world, but protected Noah. So we don't have much information about these exact angels in this verse by itself, but let's go to Jude 6. And angels who did not keep their own domain, but abandoned their proper dwelling place, these he has kept in eternal restraints under darkness for the judgment of the great day. Well, it sounds like these two sets of angels are indeed the same angels, and we have more information because these angels left their proper dwelling place, and God has kept them in chains of darkness. Okay, now here is a verse, Genesis chapter 6, that uh, we have to go in line here, and we have to just accept what it says and see if it blends with the other verses we have read and we're going to read. Genesis 6. Now it came about when mankind began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw that the daughters of mankind were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose. Verse 4, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. Now, this gives us some detail about the angels. They literally had sex with human women. Why did they want to do that? Because it says, this Genesis does not say why they did it, but we'll get to a verse in Enoch in a minute. So we have more information about these angels. Peter says right now they're in pits of darkness waiting for judgment. Jude says they left their proper place and they are held in judgment. Genesis 6 talks about some angels who left their place, who saw human women and had sex with them. Now, some people say that these sons of God were not actually angels. They were actually Shemites. But that doesn't really make any sense. If you look at Job chapter 1, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. Hold on a second. Hey, that's enough. That'll do. That'll do, Pepper. Nikita, that's enough. Nikita, come here. Nikita. Sorry about that. My dogs don't listen. And if I pause this video, it becomes two separate videos. So I have to keep it running. So it's kind of like semi-live. Okay. So Job chapter 1. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. So as we can clearly see, the sons of God is the same phrase that was used in Genesis 6, and clearly they're not men. They are angels, and in this case, they're fallen angels. And we can further see that in Job 38. God is trying to prove that he's God and Job is just a man. And he's asking Job a few questions. And he says in Job 38, on what were its bases sunk, or who laid its cornerstone, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? At this moment, there was no mankind. There was only God and the angels. So the sons of God have to be angels. And because they left their domain, they were fallen angels because they disobeyed where they were supposed to be. Deuteronomy 32 also has the phrase sons of God. When the Most High gave to the angels, gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the peoples according to the number of the sons of God. Some translations say sons of Israel, but Israel was not a nation when Moses was walking the earth. The Septuagint has the proper translation. Now, chapter 6 of Genesis kind of gives just a basic outline of what went on, but Enoch chapter 6 gives a more detailed explanation of that same historical event. Enoch 6, and it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. Now, everybody hold on to yourself, because that really looks like a conspiracy. But this is not a conspiracy theory. This is a conspiracy fact. These angels conspired with each other. Verse 3, and Simjadza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear you will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. Then swore they all together, and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And they were in all 200, who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon, and they called it Mount Hermon. because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. So there we have a more detailed list of what happened that day. 200 fallen angels. There was 20 in charge, and they had their people following them. So there's an hierarchy of there's an hierarchy in heaven, just like there is an hierarchy on earth. There's an hierarchy of uh, in heaven, and it was truly a conspiracy. They said, "Let's do this thing." You can read more in Enoch 6, and it'll give their names, and it'll also give you what these angels taught mankind. It was kind of a trade-off. The humans at that time wanting to know things, and the angel told them the things, and the trade was the humans gave the angels progeny, and that's what the angels wanted was progeny. Now let's imagine what would happen if an angel had sex with a woman and had a child. Well, we know that when the angels went down to Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham the recognized them as angels. They looked like people, but they were angels, and he saw them as an angel, saw them as a person. So they looked like people. But in this case, did I write this in here or not? I did not. The result of the union between angels and women were giants. And I don't mean people that were like 8 feet tall. I'm talking about 13 to 20 feet tall. Now, again, you don't have to believe this. You don't have to say yes. I'm just asking you to not say no. Do more research. Because the truth is out there, and it's probably not been taught in your church, unless you have 1% of the churches that actually teach this. But there were giants as a result of that union. We can see in Numbers. We also saw the Nephilim there. The sons of Anak are part of the Nephilim, and we are like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. Deuteronomy chapter 3 talks about Og, king of Bashan, was left of the remnant of the Rephaim. Behold, his bed was bed of iron. Its length was 9 cubits. If we accept a cubit as a foot and a half, then his bed was 13.5 feet long and 6 feet wide. And I think it was made of iron. That's not a 7-foot person. That bed was not made for a 7-foot tall person. 2 Samuel 21. There was war again between the Philistines and Israel, and David went down together with his servants, and they fought against the Philistines. And David grew weary, and Ishbi-Benob, one of the descendants of the giants, whose spear weighed 300 shekels of bronze. 300 shekels is a lot of weight. And who was armed with a new sword, thought to kill David, but Ashby, the son of Zeruiah, came to his aid and attacked the Philistine and killed him. I think Goliath's chain mail or breastplate weighed 125 pounds. 2 Samuel, okay, we continue with verse 18. After this, there was again war with the Philistines at Gob. Then Sebekah, the Hushathite, struck down Soph, who was one of the descendants of the giants. And we continue in 19. The Bethlehemite struck down Goliath the Gittite, the shaft of whose spear was like a weaver's beam. There was also war in Gath, and there was a man of great stature who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes. He also was descended from the giants. These 4 were descended from the giants in Gath, and they fell by the hand of David. So, the effect of Genesis 3 on the history of the world is profound, because Satan and his cohorts came up with a plan. They infiltrated the human race, trying to destroy human DNA so that there could not be a seed. But there was a plan. God started over. Noah's flood started over. But if you'll notice, the plan was so successful by Satan, he didn't only do it one time. Now it came about when mankind began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw the daughters, and that they're beautiful. Verse 4, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward. After what? After the flood. There was an incursion again. Now I haven't found a record of it, but there is an incursion again where some fallen angels had sex with human women. Now that might be a lot to accept, but I think the proof is there. We just have to say yes to it and not say no. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.